Oh, first of all, is that considered a turtleneck, Ethan? I like it. I just don't
Yeah,
know.
this is turtleneck.
Okay,
Yep.
it looked like I didn't know if it was like tall enough to be a turtleneck, but I like it.
Are you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
wearing the
It's
turtleneck?
You
it's
got
not
like
like it's not the tallest, but yeah,
okay,
it's a turtleneck.
that looked better. Okay, you
Yeah,
got good like Mr. Ertz, Mr. Ertz vibe, like teacher,
That's Doctor Ertz.
Doctor
Thank
Ertz.
you very
Excuse
much.
me, excuse me. What medical school did you go to?
um, but yeah, no, I like to rock a turtleneck. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yulia
look like
said that
a very good professor.
yeah, Yulia says that I look like that famous picture of Steve Jobs. There's like a really famous
Yeah,
picture of
yeah.
he's in a turtleneck, glasses, facial hair. It's like kind
Yeah,
of
but you're not a dick.
well, I mean,
Dick
dep-
Master.
yeah, it depends
I
on who you
mean,
ask.
if you start training yourself not to blink so you can intimidate people, then yeah, yes,
Is that what
Steve
is
Jobs
that
did that.
he did
Wow.
that really?
He trained himself not to blink to intimidate people in conversations.
So weird. Where do
Wow.
these people come up with this shit?
I mean, he also only ate fruit, and that's what most likely killed him.
Right, really?
Yeah, he was a strict fruitarian.
Oh. So he's as bad as Michael K. You guys have like heard Michael K talk about his diet, right?
Bacon and steak or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah. It's like not quite as bad as Ron Swanson, but it's like he doesn't get any nutrition ever.
Oh, so we're gonna read about him dropping dead of a heart attack in the next 5-10 years.
and he's got kids less than 10 years old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really irresponsible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but he's super, super picky. Like, I don't know. Like, if I was coordinating team travel, I'd just be so frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, there's steakhouses everywhere they go, but I would still be frustrated
Right.
trying to manage that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Boys, before we get into our beers, which Matt was trying to jump ahead before we even
Right.
hit record here, I saw this right before I hopped on to the recording today. Vladdy hit a 450-foot bomb over the monster, and so I love to poke fun at the Red Sox anytime I can. But it also reminded me that Vladdy took a shot at the Yankees over the offseason, and it just started picking up steam recently because he did it in Spanish, and Americans are ignorant and nobody wants to learn Spanish, and basically said that he would never play for the Yankees because his father got treated poorly, yada yada yada, and people immediately started making the Griffey comparison. And there's a couple things that bothered me with about that, and I'm just curious what you guys think. First is when you're an opposing player, what the fuck else do you expect? Like you're gonna get booed, especially when you're as good as Vlad Guerrero was. Like he crushed the Yankees. You're gonna get booed. I don't think people were throwing batteries at him or like doing the Miles Straw thing to him or anything. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I just I can't understand that logic. Um, uh, and the second piece of it is Griffey Senior was on the Yankees in the '80s when they were the toxicity of baseball. So like that, I totally understand.
Well, there's
just
more
like
to the Griffey story than that too, which I'll talk about in a minute if you
right,
don't talk
right,
about it.
and the other hilarious part is like, yeah, Vladdy Jr. is a great player, right? Um, but he's no Ken Griffey Jr. Like when Ken Griffey Jr. said that, it was like, okay, you're the best player of a generation. Like you're awesome. You can say that. Like Vladdy runs his mouth all the time, whether it was the movie last year or saying this now, and I'm like, yeah, I guess like you're a top 3 player maybe in the American League, but you're not Ken Griffey Jr. I don't know if you'll ever be Ken Griffey Jr. because you're not a center fielder and you can't do the things Griffey did. So a lot of things about that bothered me, but I'm just curious what you guys thought about it.
I mean, I don't know. Like he can have his. Not everyone's going to take the what is it? Is it Tatis? In they were showing like everyone who heckles like he'll just point at him and he says like I want to hear more like he likes it, right? Not everyone's going to take that attitude, right? And there are. I'm not saying New York is great all the time, right? There are going to be certain people in certain places that are shitty to play. I'm not going to say that we're like racist Boston, but um, I'm not saying that there's great people out in the stands either. So, yeah, whatever. Like he can do what he wants to do. I'm interested to hear what Ethan has to say about Griffey Senior. But
Yeah. So So first of all, I think unless there are details about Yankee fans and Vlad Senior that we don't know about, then I agree with Colin that if you are an opposing person, and especially if you're a fucking superstar and one of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time, like yeah, you're gonna get booed in Yankee Stadium. Get over it. However, if there's like some extra shit that Vladdy Jr. didn't really go into, of some really ugly things that maybe some fans had said or something like that, then that changes the equation, obviously. But of course, I know we would all be on the same page about that if we had that information.
Right.
It doesn't bother me in general, if he for whatever reason has a negative feeling about New York and wants to talk about it. And I will say, yeah, he maybe isn't Griffey yet, but he's pretty goddamn impressive.
So
And I
22,
think,
23.
yeah, exactly. And I think if he keeps it up and he can stay healthy for the next few years, he is going to be Griffey level as a hitter at least, possibly even better. I mean, it depends, right? Like, hold on a second, because the thing with Griffey, Griffey got so much love back then, and deservedly, right? But he never drew very many walks, right? Like he was never anything compared to somebody like Bonds. Or even I bet if we were to compare like his OPS to say like Frank Thomas, I bet you there would be a pretty sizable difference there
Or even
as
McGuire,
well.
maybe.
Or even McGuire maybe. Now he was amazing, don't get me wrong, and of course he was an amazing center fielder when he was young. Blah 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 blah. Griffey was, I mean, he was the best. He was the coolest, right? But I'm just saying that Vladdy has a chance to be, I think, that stature if he stays healthy and like lives up to his potential. Um, Now the Griffey thing, so that didn't come from Vladdy though. You're saying that that's come from like articles and tweets and shit, like just commentators on the side. Kyle?
Well, didn't Griffey say that he would never play for the Yankees
Yeah,
because of
no,
the way that his dad was treated?
yeah, no, he did. But you were bringing that up. I thought you were saying other
Oh
people had
yeah,
brought
yeah,
that up.
yeah. I was just saying there's similarities to it because
Yeah, no,
because other
so
people
yeah,
started making that comparison, but I don't think it's really a comparison. I think they're completely different
yeah.
situations.
I mean, I'd have to go and look. I can't remember when exactly it happened, but yeah, Griffey, it's famous. I think you can probably find the clip online. He was being interviewed and it was being televised, by like a group of reporters or whatever. And somebody asked him about the Yankees, and he said, "I will never ever play for the Yankees. I will retire if they're the last team in baseball to give me an offer. I will retire." Now he didn't go into the details, of course, but I have read the story, and it's gross. Basically, what happened, Matt mentioned racism in the Red Sox, and essentially it's that just in Yankee Stadium. So basically, Griffey was a kid, and Griffey Senior. I wish I could remember all of the details. I can't remember who the other player was, but Griffey Senior is like on the team, and it's before the game, right? People are just messing around, and out on the field, would it have been Greg Nettles? Did Greg Nettles and Griffey Senior overlap? Do you remember, Kyle?
I don't think so.
Okay, somebody like that. Okay, and that player, a Yankee teammate, and their son are out on the field, like playing around, playing catch, and blah 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 blah. Griffey Senior and Griffey Junior also go out. At some point, somebody comes over to the dugout, somebody from the team, from the organization, whatever, not the manager or anything, but somebody comes over and talks to like Griffey Senior and says, "Oh, hey, yeah, you guys can't be on the field right now." And meanwhile, the white player and his white son just kept on playing. There was no issue, but Griffey Junior was kicked off the field, and so there's no way to paint that in any sort of sympathetic light. That's just
Yeah.
fucking atrocious.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you can imagine. And I remember everybody should find the clip, and maybe we should look it up after this. But um, there was something Griffey said in a different interview where he actually told this story where he talked about how his dad basically gave him a knowing look, or like kind of explained things after the fact, and was like, "This is what's going on here."
Yeah.
And so you can imagine if that happens when you're a kid, of course you're going to have that. I would have felt the same way. I would have said, "Fuck this franchise now and forever." Which is how Griffey Jr. felt. So anyway, so yeah, the comparison in terms of like, oh, I'll never sign with that team, that is apt, right? In terms of the Griffey thing, my hope is that is as far as the similarities go. I
Right.
hope that
Right.
there was nothing being yelled at Vladdy Senior, that's in a similar vein. Certainly by the 2000s, there was already a massive Hispanic presence in Major League Baseball and on the Yankees. So, but you never know, right? I mean,
Mhm.
drunk fans can be really, really nasty in any ballpark. So it's hard to say, but um, yeah. So the Griffey thing is like is another level, and we can only hope that that is not what happened with Vladdy, and that hopefully it was just maybe the fans were just extra hardcore in their booing and in their heckling. And it just left a sour taste in Vladdy Jr.'s mouth or something, right?
Well, now the more I think about it, though, this might not be the only case of the fans scaring away a potential future
Probably, yeah.
player. Was it Cliff Lee's wife who got treated poorly at the when he was a visiting pitcher, and that was one of the things he cited why he never wanted to go to the Yankees?
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, but he didn't. I don't think he had a no trade clause. I think Texas just beat us out for him.
Yeah, but I mean, it was that he said he didn't want to go. He didn't want to sign with us. He didn't want to go because of how his family was treated at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Let
Look,
me
we know in sports in general there are some awful fans. I mean, the what was it, like a murder in Dodger Stadium parking lot that happened between a Giants fan and a Dodgers fan.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's right.
you
It
know
was
the
two Dodgers fans on a Giants fan. Yeah,
yeah, like it's not just baseball too. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
it's all sports, and I'm sure it happens, overseas and things like that. So, um, it's yeah, it's nothing we condone. But I again, I just thought it was interesting. I've never heard anything to that level that happened to Vlad Senior. And so it was just like, what was it? Like, was he just
Yeah,
upset
I
because
would
he
love
was
the
getting
details.
booed, or whatever? Like, that's I don't know. But like, to Ethan, so there was overlap. I don't know if it was Nails, but Griffey and Nails played 82 and 83 together.
I feel like it
Uh,
might have been Nettles because that's the name that was stuck in my head. But
yeah, yeah.
and
I don't know for sure, but
and a footnote. I just looked up the story. Lee said that he actually dismissed it. He said that his wife was spit at and had beer thrown at her in the 70s, but he said it's 50,000 fans, so you can't control them all. That didn't affect my decision. So okay,
oh,
that's
interesting. Okay,
yeah. I
yeah, and,
mean,
and that's
of
another
course
way
he's
to
going to
look
say
at it
that because,
too. But
well,
you
of
know,
that's
course he's going
fucking
to,
gross.
because as long as the Yankees are in the running, the price goes up. So
right, right, right. I
he
mean,
would
that
he
it's
would artificially limit his market.
Yeah,
right. That's I think Michael K was talking about that, with Vladdy, and just saying, like, even if he wants to stay with the Blue Jays, like, you're still kind of suppressing, the ability to make more money, and
Right.
everything. But I mean, there's so many different ways we can take something like that. It's just I just found it really interesting, and um, I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it. But let's talk about beer, because then we've turned into a football podcast, I think, and I definitely want to talk about something football related after beer.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our beers.
Ethan, what do you got? It looked like amber. I couldn't tell what it was.
not amber. The lighting maybe makes it look like that. But nothing exciting. I'm having a German dinner tonight. I'm having schnitzel and sauerkraut and potatoes, and we had some leftover beers from a party we had recently. Just basic beers people had brought over or whatever. And one that I thought would be okay with my German dinner was just a Leffe Blonde
Huh. Belgian
ale.
blonde. Yeah. Okay.
And that's
Good.
it. And it's
Okay,
it's
cool.
fine. So
I will join you in Belgium. I've got a Belgian lambic from the Tilquin Brewing Group.
oh sweet.
Lambic is obviously it's a spontaneously fermented wild ale that really,
Obviously.
really relies on the local yeast in the air in Belgium. And lambics are mixtures of aged and new beer that are sour. And this one in particular is a mixture of lambics that were aged on once used Pinot Noir grapes.
That's interesting.
So it's 80% young beer and 20% 2-year old lambic, kind of mixed together and unpasteurized. Um, Not like a lot of American sours. It is. I mean, it's still funky. It is still sour, like an actual sour, not like a fruity pastry sour. But it's a little easier to drink. It's a little easier to palate. A little more you know, lighter, and it's enjoyable. And I'm starting to get a better flavor for it. I can't tell you like this came in a box with like a couple different versions. I still can't tell you the difference between like the grapes, but I can tell there's grapes in there. So, which is good.
Nice.
Friend of the podcast and neighbor, Todd Schock, all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio. I will leave you two in Belgium. Motherfucker. IKF
What happened in the game?
Out at the plate on a contact play.
Damn
it.
Oh man, I just was talking about Ryan Geist last weekend. So
yeah, it's a good beer. And it had the baseball on it. He gave me a 6-pack of different beers from this brewery, but this one had baseball, so I thought I would chug this one down.
If you ever find yourself in Cincinnati, and we'll tie this to Ethan's German dinner in the Over the Rhine neighborhood, which is like the up and coming, it used to be an old kind of rundown, tough neighborhood. Now it's coming back. That's where Ryan Geist is located. And it's on this it's toward the end of the nice street. It's this just big nondescript warehouse with this tiny, maybe, 8-inch wide by 4-inch tall sign that says Ryan Geist. And you go in this door and you go up like 3 sets of metal rusty stairs in this kind of cramped hallway. And you get to the door and you walk in, and it's enormous. It's this giant, giant, giant warehouse where they've got all their brewing equipment on one end. They've got 3 different bars. It's big enough that they have an indoor kickball and an indoor wiffle ball league there in the winter. It's enormous. It's so big. They fit like brontosaurus skeletons that they had on loan from museums in there for exhibits. I saw people do like those, like, not high ropes, but it's like those acrobats that use like the strips of cloth and they like wrap themselves up and do flips in the air. I saw that there. Like, really neat space. It's got a rooftop patio that overlooks the city. I've never been up there, but it's supposed to be great. The one time I was there with my parents, there was a wedding up there. My dad tried going up anyway. It was kind of funny. But if you just imagine street clothes John Root walking up there, seeing if you can get in, but they didn't let him up. But it's a really cool place. Definitely getting into it's more of a regional type brewery, or like a Saranac type, but they do a lot of different stuff. They also have like a cider division and a seltzer division, and they do some good barrel aged stuff, but a lot of hoppy stuff. And the other neat thing is they self-distribute, so they kind of stay out of the trappings of someone like Anheuser-Busch. That if Anheuser-Busch controls the distributor, they can control the craft the craft sellers in the area as well. So they not only self-distribute, but I believe they try and help other breweries in the area too. So neat place, highly recommended. Check out Over the Rhine too. Lots of cool places up there.
Very cool.
Sweet.
The Yankee game is very interesting right now. I was gonna talk about, so I think IKF let off the inning with a double. Bieber is still in the game. He's thrown 89 pitches to this point.
Woo.
It's a 2-2 tie.
Bottom of the 8th fired inning.
Up. Yeah, and so I told you IKF got thrown out. So Higgy hit a sac fly, then IKF was on third, 1 out. Volpe hit the ball right to Ramirez at third, and IKF was running on contact, threw him out easily at home, and then Bieber just balked. That's how Volpe got to second here.
I missed this. Okay.
And so, who knows what's going to happen after that. But I was just thinking, Tito has somebody warming up in the bullpen, and presumably this is the 4th time around in the lineup. Maybe it's only the 3rd time, given the pitch count. I don't know. But, to let him just go and figure this out. I know it's only May. It's not a playoff game or anything like that, but I don't think many managers even have the opportunity to do that, because the front office would be banging down the clubhouse door to tell them to get get the pitcher out, and everything, get the guy in the bullpen in the game. So it's just really interesting. I'm curious how 2-2 pitch, 2 outs, bottom of the 8th here with Glaber up, 3-2 count now. But yeah, really.
I just
really
love that our offense tonight is Jake Bowers and Willie Calhoun.
That's
Yeah,
all it was.
Woo!
Yes, yesterday it was Willie and Volpe.
things got dark pretty fast in 2023.
Well, and here's the hilarious thing. Last week, at the end of the episode, I was just listening this morning. We did a really quick baseball recap, and we were kind of like, the
Fly out to
Dodgers,
center.
right? Like, what's going to happen with? I'm pretty sure the Dodgers like ran off like 7 straight games or something like that, and are looking like the Dodgers, again, even though they are obviously a very different team than what we're used to. So it can definitely change both ways very quickly. But for the Yanks,
Yeah.
it's gotten pretty bleak because they just have so many injuries, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
part of the
ugly.
game. But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew, last week we spent quite a bit of time talking about your beloved Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and the Jordan Love era is supposed to begin in Green Bay, but one of the surprises of the NFL draft this past week was
Oh,
Mr. Sean
you suck it up.
Sean Clifford
They
getting
just need a
drafted
new backup. That's it.
getting drafted in the 5th round by the Green Bay Packers. Are you excited about a future of Green Bay Packer football with a Penn State football quarterback?
I think they needed someone who could mentor Jordan Love, right?
Is he
Isn't
older than
Clifford like
Jordan?
a 7th year, super senior?
How old is Jordan Love?
Probably the same age.
Yeah, they got to be close. I think Cliff's going to be 26 maybe this year or something like that.
It says 24. Yeah, they're both 24.
Amazing.
Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't give his exact birthday, but there's a really really good chance he. Oh no, he is older than Jordan Love. he's he's born in July of '98. Jordan Love was born in November of '98.
That's hilarious. So
Mm.
good. Hey, I mean, the one good thing I can tell, two good things I can tell you about Sean Clifford. Three good things. One, he's a great leader. So clubhouse guy. That's you were talking about last week. Aaron Rodgers, no leadership. Cliff's that guy. Second, he's tough as nails. I mean, how the dude even walks, I have no idea with some of the hits that I saw him take over the 5 years at Penn State. And then the third thing, and this might, to your point, Matt, it might actually be a real thing. Cliff had 4 different offensive coordinators in 4 years, so he knows how to learn offense and do that type of stuff. So he's a smart guy. Doesn't have a great arm. He makes a lot of back breaking mistakes when it comes to quarterback play, which is not something you typically want of your starting quarterback.
No, not
But
usually.
overall, and that was like obviously Will Levis was one of the most talked about players during the draft because he went from being a projected top 5 pick to being a day 2 pick. After Penn State's Joey Porter in the 2nd round, but Levis was a Penn Stater. The dude he has a cannon, but he has no control, with the ball. He played at Kentucky and did like okay, after that. Like I don't see like where I mean, I see the body type, right? The prototype that, an NFL quarterback, maybe he could be like a Kerry Collins or something like that, another Penn Stater. But it's like I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if Cliff, actually did more in the NFL than Levis did or will do. But I could also see Levis like turning into the next Patrick Mahomes or something like that. I don't know.
I think you just wanted an excuse to name as many Penn State quarterbacks as you could.
That part was that just a happy coincidence. That part, but
No, I was going to just talk about the breaking news that the New York Jets have signed Aaron Rodgers' favorite locker room attendant, and they've signed his second favorite shaman because the first one probably couldn't cross state lines, and they probably signed Donald Driver out of retirement maybe as well just to keep him happy. No, but he's bringing his show on the road, right? So they brought Nathaniel Hackett in to lure him there. They signed Alan Lazard before they got Rodgers. They've also signed a backup tackle, Billy Turner, that Rodgers liked, and then they're bringing in Randall Cobb now too, who's young but geriatric. He's our age, but that's geriatric in the NFL terms right now. I mean, he hasn't been really a game changer for a while, so he's definitely bringing his show on the road to New York. Again, the more I thought about it last week, the more I realized like he does well with a chip on his shoulder. So who knows? He could have a stellar season, but
people say that about Sean Clifford too, by the way.
Yeah, wait until Sean actually signs his contract, bud. Like he hasn't even signed a contract yet.
Why wouldn't he sign? He wasn't projected to go in the draft at all. He got picked in the 5th round.
You never know. Okay. First, he's got to sign his contract. Then he's got to make the team. That's not a guarantee either. So
I know. I guarantee you he makes the team though.
Of course he does. The Packers need a backup, but
yeah.
I mean, they could find some, University of Wisconsin Whitewater, which for those who don't know is like the best Division III football team in the country other than Mount Union. They could find some guy out of that that's like, oh, he's 6'7" and can throw the ball 200 yards, and maybe he gets the spot instead. I don't know. Hefty lefty part due. Also, another Kentucky quarterback. That's if you want to keep dropping Penn State, I'll say, well, Will Levis is Kentucky, and the hefty lefty, and Randall Cobb also out of Kentucky, and blah blah blah. I don't actually care about Kentucky.
Randall Cobb was out of Kentucky?
Yep.
I know
you
that.
Don't feel any loyalty and fondness toward your home state for 4 years, Matt?
Oh, man. Ugh. That's just like, ugh.
I thought you liked Kentucky better than Cleveland.
Sorry about that for all those listeners out there. But just, I can't control it. I mean, I don't miss the low cost of living, but I also didn't have to worry about putting a kid through school down there. Huh. And when my like taxes for the year down there are like basically 1 month's worth of taxes here. I kind of wonder how for schools. I kind of wonder how good like the schools down there are if I'm only paying like $170 a month in school tax.
I was gonna say what would happen. I think I can see it already. Is you'd have a kid and they'd be in their like first science class, in whatever grade that would be, and they would come home and they would say, "Daddy, we started science class today, and it was awesome. We opened up our textbook and we read Genesis chapter 1 verse 1."
You laugh, but I lived 35 minutes from the Ark Encounter, and I lived 25 minutes from the Creation Museum.
Yeah, no, I'm like kind of being serious. Yeah. I knew about that. Yeah. Well, I didn't know you were that close, but I knew that shit was in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I miscalculated. My monthly taxes for the school district down there was $108 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some good quality public school education. Good stuff. Oh.
I missed the bourbon, but that's about it.
Yep. Okay, 2 outs though.
So anyway.
Oh, Holmes is pitching again. Isn't he just going to collapse again?
Looks like it. It's raining. It's going to pour. So that's what's going to happen.
We've got a 1-game winning streak going. Okay, come on, have faith.
Now, by the time this podcast is over, we should know if it is 2 or 0.
Yeah. When is how long do we think Judge is going to be out? He's on the 10-day IL. What are the chances he's
Monday.
Actually back?
Yeah, next week, right?
He's supposed to come back Monday.
You guys believe that'll actually happen?
I think.
Hey, his name isn't Carlos Rodon, okay? Come on.
Yeah, he's getting more tests. I saw today.
Yeah.
Rodon is.
Yeah. And Loizaga is needing surgery, and Lou Torino needs surgery.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You need Tommy John. Yeah.
Yep. Trevino's done.
Trevino wasn't good anyways, was he?
He was lights out for the Yankees after we acquired him.
Yeah. Wait, he was?
The guy was a man on fire for the Yankees. Yeah.
Yeah, we got fleeced by the Athletics.
I did not remember that at all. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Trevino. I mean, you're right. When we got him, he had like a 5-something ERA, but his time with the Yankees was
he was
incredible.
Looking it up, yeah.
What could have been at least a nice consolation prize for a shitty Montas deal turned into no, never mind. enjoy our pitching prospects, you suckers in Oakland.
Blooper,
Another
Bermuda
blooper.
Triangle.
Oh, and somebody's hurt. Somebody's head got fucked.
This is
Bader's.
unbelievable.
Yep, Bader's head got hit hard. He looks like he's okay.
His head isn't what's fragile. He's got.
They took the lead on that.
Oh, they did. Oh well, shit.
Yep.
I'm not watching, guys. Stop.
In the ninth.
It's
inning.
much better. It's much more enjoyable when you don't watch and waste your time.
This is depressing. I wonder if Bader got a concussion on that and he's going to be out again.
Did I not send you guys a text Monday night saying that Clay Holmes should never pitch a high leverage inning for the Yankees ever again?
I mean, you said something along those lines.
And yet here we are 2 days later, and the same thing is happening. Like, this is soft contact, both of these hits, but still.
Jeez.
Who do you put in there instead? King?
Well, King got burned out yesterday, I think, so he's not coming back, especially after.
You said Loizaga needs surgery?
Yep.
Yeah. Remove a bone spur or something.
What about Schwandy Peralta? Is he your closer instead?
I would take one.
I mean, he walked in the game-winning run the other night.
Yeah, but he's been solid overall. He's just their only lefty, so.
God, this season is quickly looking very depressing.
Yeah, it's May 3rd. Relax.
These injuries are really bad. How confident are you in this bullpen right now?
Rich Canley.
He's supposed to be coming back.
Yeah, he's coming back too. I mean, when the cavalry comes back, I think they'll be okay, but it's not great. But as we found out last season, it's very, very, very long season to go.
Yeah.
So try not to get too worked up one way or another about it.
And
Bader's what is the podcast called? Two Sads and a Sad? Come on.
Two Sads and a Sad. Bader's coming off. He's walking off on his own, but they're taking him out.
Yep.
Isn't this literally his first game back, or is this his second game back?
Second game.
Okay.
Or third game, maybe.
Third game.
Second or third. Yeah.
Okay. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. How about fucking DeGrom? Looks like he's gonna have another Tommy John surgery.
Really?
They're being tight-lipped about it, but he was cruising versus the Yankees the other night, then came out and they said it's his forearm, and that's like the worst. That's the worst thing it can be.
Wait, forearm? Really? Is that a sign of elbow stuff?
That's what I've heard.
Oh, I didn't know this. Okay.
Yep. So I haven't seen any updates on that, but that one's a pretty sad one. How about what's his face for the Marlins though? Here's a question for you guys, especially for Ethan. Will batting average matter if Luis, whatever is his last name, Arias,
Arias, yeah.
if he's hitting over 400 or close to 400 in September, will that matter?
So it depends on how you mean. Will it matter to people who actually understand the game and are trying to evaluate players accurately to their full extent? To those people, it will not matter.
I take offense.
I know you do. Will it matter? Will it matter to the larger baseball world in general, and just fans in general, and fans of the history of the game, and casual fans, which also happens to include us, by the way, and me? Yes, it will matter to them, right? Because even somebody like me, and I will tell you constantly, and I'll tell you if that happens, batting average does not matter. It's pointless and it's useless. However, because we grew up idolizing batting average, and we're not idolizing it necessarily, is maybe the wrong word, but
it was batting average. It was,
batting average, homers, RBIs. I mean, this was how we measured players. This is when we think of the history of the game and we think of the great hitters, we think of batting average, right? And there's just something about it. There's a mystique about it. There's just this kind of romance about it, right? So even though statistically it's meaningless in terms of actually evaluating a player, it matters in the consciousness of the game. It matters in terms of just the people who love the history and grew up on the history. Another generation or two down the line, maybe it won't so much. But
sure.
But I don't know about that. I mean, I think a lot of people still like batting average, even though it's useless. And so, yeah,
What?
I think it will matter.
I gotta push back a little. I don't know if I would go as far as to say it's meaningless. I mean,
It is meaningless.
it's still a measure of contact skills and of hard hit ball
You
percentage.
only need slugging percentage.
So
You don't need batting average. You only need slugging
so
percentage for that.
so if you're looking at like here's why I still think a batting average of 400 plus matters, because if you're looking at it like what's a good on base percentage, right?
Well, 400 is a fantastic on base percentage.
Exactly. So with 0 walks, if he has a 400 batting average, it means he has at least a 400 on base percentage, which will still be a building block to his OPS.
Yeah, but you also can just skip that part. You can just skip that step and just look directly at his on base percentage and his slugging percentage, which tells you his slugging percentage not only tells you how much contact he's making and if he's getting on base, it tells you what kind of hits he's getting. So you can actually differentiate between, is he just hitting a bunch of fucking weak singles, or is he getting a lot of extra base hits and homers? Which is also much more useful information.
You can take a beautiful song at face value, or you can dissect it and look at the fortes and the pianissimos and the crescendos and the accents that all come together to give you one beautiful picture.
Yeah, and that one beautiful picture is OPS. And the only things you need for OPS are on base percentage and slugging percentage.
And the component of on base percentage is
your walks and your hits.
Yeah.
And you don't need batting average. You don't need batting average. Oh, my God.
Follow-up questions. What do you guys think what would be more interesting? Someone hitting 400 for a season, or somebody breaking DiMaggio's hitting streak, which is 56 games?
DiMaggio's hitting streak.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
By far. Much more statistically difficult.
Probably.
Really? Is that right?
Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah.
If we were to look up, but if we were to look up the actual probability, if that would hold up, because
I feel like okay. So here's the follow-up question. Which one would, like, when you're getting to the final stages, and I realize that you can predict the final stages for the 400 batting average. That's going to be the end of September, early October. When you get to game 50 or maybe game 46, or I don't even know what the number would be, which one is more pressure packed? Like which one hits harder when it comes to pressure?
The streak, by far.
See, I don't know if that's right.
Right, because you can go 0 for 4 one day, and then you go 4 for 4 the next day, and you're still ahead of your mark for
but if
your
you're
400
down,
batting average.
Sure, but if you're down to the last couple games of the season, and you're right at 400 or 399,
then if it's the last couple games of the season, you've already well qualified. You could sit those games if you're over 400.
You could. That would be a really shitty move. Not if you're
batting 399.
But there goes the pressure then, right? Like, get one hit, pull them out of the game, you're done. You know.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so lame. God, I mean, maybe somebody would do that, but that'd be.
But we've all seen guys who miss a shot for their triple double, right? Lead off single, rebound.
Lead off single for Rizzo. Bottom.
Petty shit happens.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't even necessarily disagree with you that like the streak is harder or whatever like that. I just would be interested. I'm sure that somebody like Tom Tango or Bill James or somebody has done the calculations on the probability, and I would like to see the numbers. Like, would the hitting streak really be that much more difficult than hitting 400? Because I mean, I feel like people have gotten relatively close to both, in the last few decades. Yeah, who got to like 44 or 46 games on their hitting streak, like Jose Reyes or something?
No, I think Pete Rose maybe got close. I think in our lifetime, I think Chase Utley maybe has the longest, and it was like 30-something games.
Nah, somebody got into the 40s. I'm almost positive.
40s, I'm pretty sure, is almost just as rare as, obviously, DiMaggio.
Okay, here you go. Here's a good summary, guys. This is by a statistician working for the Society for American Baseball Research.
Okay, sweet.
Mr. Blahaus sums up by saying, what all of this means is that DiMaggio, even given his 357 batting average and the at-bat chances that he received, did something that he should not have been expected to do unless he hit that way for 1,038 years.
Oh wow! And actually, I will also say, okay, Jesus fucking Christ. Somebody was just running to second like a fucking moron. Who's
it's
Well,
Peraza.
we're not sure where this figure comes from. It's actually closer to once every 18,000 years. But we are sure of this: what DiMaggio did in 1941 has no chance, realistic or otherwise, of ever happening again.
Yeah,
No
and
one's
actually,
seriously approached the record in 60 years, not even Rose.
yeah, and I stand corrected. I was thinking I thought there was somebody in the early 2000s, but no, it was yeah, Jimmy Rollins did 38 games, but that was between two seasons, 05-06. Um the third most in the or the second most in the modern era, because I'm looking like the modern era, I'm talking about, say, let's just stick to the divisional era, right? Let's stick to 1969 and later, is Pete Rose at 44 games, and that was in 1978. And then you go to Paul Molitor in 1987, and that was 39. Then Rollins at 38. And then Luis Castillo did 35 in 2002. Chase Utley did 35 in 2006. And Dan Ugla, you guys remember him? Dan Ugla had a 33 game hitting streak in 2011. Hal Morris for the Reds, 32 games over 96 to 97. Anyways, the upshot of this is yes, okay. I was misremembering hitting streaks. And yeah, nobody has been anywhere close in the modern era. So
now, I will say, I know I was pretty steadfast in what would be more impressive and more pressure packed. I did not realize that it would be that difficult. I did not realize the chasm of statistics. But I will say, engineer here, trust me when I talk statistics.
mm-hmm.
I know.
Yeah, I still think that 400 would be like pretty insanely difficult, and I think the pressure would be pretty insane too. I mean, we're talking about the same year. I mean, it has been since the same year that it happened as the hitting streak, right? So clearly we're talking about stuff that, I mean, 1941 was such a different time in the game, as we know, and you know, I personally am of the belief that if you took people from 1941 and you placed them into the modern game, they would probably be mediocre at best. Except for maybe somebody like Ted Williams, who was such a dedicated student of hitting. I feel like he probably would have been a great hitter in any era. But
wasn't there a quote about that recently, like a hitter from maybe our childhood saying like I wouldn't hit 200 today or something like that? I want to say.
Oh, was there? I mean,
Yeah,
that would be my expectation. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. There was a clip. I actually meant to tell you guys about it. Somebody shared this on their story on Instagram. I wish I could remember who did. A friend of mine shared it on their story. And it was this short clip of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig taking batting practice.
Oh, I saw that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. And listen, I love Babe and Lou as much as anybody, but I was watching their swings, and like, I mean, and I'm thinking of like Adam Ottavino's quote from a few years ago, and I'm watching these guys swinging, and I'm like, I don't know if they would get a single fucking hit against modern pitching. Hey, tie game, Willie Calhoun again. Okay.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I'd love, it's fun to play the imaginary baseball game. I'd love to see Babe Ruth step in the box against Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
And just be like, what the fuck is this guy? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, like he's mean.
Yep.
He's giant.
He's 6'10",
and he's releasing the ball, 6 feet closer than anyone else has. And you think about it, again, going back to that Salvador, the ESPN clip, right? He had to tell. Everyone in the majors knew if he was throwing fastball or slider based on how he held his glove. It was very easy. And yet people still couldn't hit him.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of the quote. There was or like I see memes occasionally where people talk about, why do we still care so much about what the founding fathers thought? Like, why do we care so much about people who owned other human beings and would be mystified by the sight of the dishwasher? Like, why do we care what they think? And it's kind of similar to that, right? Obviously, this is even more recent, though, right? We're not even talking about since the 17 and 1800s. But like, yeah, imagine Babe Ruth seeing Randy Johnson's slider, right? Like it would seem like a fucking alien to him. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's just that's the one negative thing about baseball fans, which we have kind of talked about before, is just the sort of I don't know if it's a refusal or what, but to sort of acknowledge the context when we are making these comparisons and how drastically, like unfathomably different these
Now,
times are.
is it because it's harder to make a direct comparison just by the nature of the game, right? Like the comparison I think is like if you watch footage of like 1920s or 30s basketball where it's like a bunch of white guys in short shorts like jump shot, and then you like watch it now and it's like fucking LeBron like or Shaq. Like imagine if you put up like the 1950s Syracuse Nationals that won a NBA championship with Shaq. You just put just Shaq on the floor, and like he
Yeah,
probably would have a competitive game.
I know, really. Colin, I know you were just distracted probably by family stuff, but you need to find this section in the podcast and listen back to Matt's audio description of the evolution of basketball. Possibly the best thing that has happened on the pod ever. So,
But
jump shot.
like, but my audio paints a nice visual picture.
It
As
paints an
soon as you hear
amazing
that,
visual
you would
picture.
know exactly the old timey basketball clip I was referring to.
It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Yeah.
So
Yes, I was distracted. Stella was screaming. We think she just
Oh.
had a bad dream or something. But
Oh, okay.
all is
Poor
good.
girl. All right.
But yeah, so like it's easy to look at like an old clip of basketball versus a new one and go like, yeah, this is different. But like, it's kind of hard to do that with baseball unless you get a good batting average or batting practice clip like you talked about, Ethan. Right? Like gameplay of baseball to you can put Willie Mays' catch up against any catch that you see in the modern day and you go, okay, it's about the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's not right. The Polo Ground that should have been a home run in any other park of the majors, but like. I don't know. I think it's a little bit more difficult, even though the differences are just as real and still there, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I would love to see if we're looking at like the Wayback Machine. I would love to see like Jim Brown play in today's NFL.
That'd be interesting.
I think he would be just as dominant, right? You ever seen we're talking baseball memes, right? There's like the football meme where they show like the 1980s or 1970s like football morning in America clip, and like 90% of the highlights they show would be illegal in today's game based on like the hits or what they do. And it's like, oh, that'd be pass interference. That would be roughing. Like, so if someone like Jim Brown could excel in an era like that, I mean, now the people are much more monstrously huge now, but he'd be, among peers. I wonder how he would do in today's game. I don't know. Stuff like that's always fun to think about, but until AI and Chat GPT gets good enough, it'll just exist in my mind right now.
Yeah, right.
Well, like in football, I mean, you know this, Matt. I mean, the tackles and even the linebackers on defense are so big and so fucking fast. Like it almost doesn't even make sense, that they can do that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like
I would worry about old time players like that. They would get hit once and probably cripple.
Like a guard or a tackle now is 50 or 60 pounds heavier than they were 40 years ago, and they're probably faster, which is the insane part of it. Like that is the scary part, right?
Yeah.
But so it's cool. It's interesting, right? There are you can find those examples across every sport, right? Like, okay, golf seems the same. No, it doesn't. The technology behind golf balls and golf clubs are so much different now. Like back in the day, a golf ball was like a leather wrapped piece of wood or something. Like it was nothing, or cork or whatever. Like now it's completely different. Again, same with just look at the difference in tennis rackets. 40 years ago versus now. You guys ever find an old tennis racket in your grandparents' house?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this thing? Like, this looks like a snowshoe that should be up on the wall or something, right? It's not a tennis racket. It's a piece of wood.
Yeah.
Marathon runners. I was just reading something today. This is probably common knowledge to everyone who runs, but obviously, one look at me and the beer I drink. I'm not a runner. There's like carbon fiber insoles that like are responsive to your footsteps. So like, that's going to return energy to your legs and make every stride a little bit less difficult for you. So
Oh,
that's going to be something that's going to be way different.
I didn't know
Even
about that.
oh yeah, carbon fiber, or just the fact that like if you can reduce a shoe an ounce, like take an ounce of weight out of a marathon shoe. If you think about every time you're stepping up, you're like taking tons of weight off of that runner now because of how many strides they take over the course of a marathon. That's tons of work they don't have to do, which is
Yeah.
insane, but also cool. Like
Yeah.
you know, it's fun to make those comparisons, but I mean, I want to keep going. I'm trying to think like maybe hockey's the same. I don't know. The
I'm sure
goalies
there's
have
differences there
face
too.
masks now. Right.
I mean, hockey changed their rules, right?
No, I
To
know
be
they've changed rules.
more
They've shrunk the pads.
space
They've
offensively.
changed what passes you need to make. You know, it's different too. But I'm just ignorant about hockey. Although for the first year of the podcast, I always wanted to talk hockey, and no one ever did. So
Still don't.
correct answer.
Oh man. Well,
Anyway, I've been talking a lot. You guys are watching TV while you're doing this podcast. I'm a professional.
It's just a
I'm not.
Yankee game.
we're
Just
listening.
kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the one who gave all the topics so far tonight. I mean, I have other topics. We can talk about LeBron and the Lakers because they're on a roll right now. But
Oh, actually, here's something. Obviously, you guys know I barely follow, but I did see that. Uh, which I don't know if was this in one. Was it in the same conference, Colin, where the 1 through 4 seeds lost and the 5 through 8 seeds won, or was that split between both conferences?
I think it's split.
Okay, but there was
Because yeah, it's got to
yeah.
be because whoever was the eighth seed in the West lost.
Okay, but how
Um,
about that? That like through between the conferences, sure, but still, a 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, and 4 seed lost, and 5, 6, 7, 8 all won. I thought that was kind of interesting.
yeah. Well, and so that kind of plays into what we were talking about earlier in the pod. There's like two pieces to this. Joe Paz wrote about this. The one piece is playoffs are longer. There's more of them, and it
More
becomes
teams,
more of a random,
yeah.
whoever's hot at the right time type thing.
Phillies last year, right? You know,
The
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Nationals in 2019.
Yeah, but like for the Lakers, for example, uh, LeBron was out for a significant amount of time this year. AD was out for a significant amount of time this year. They're both healthy and on the floor. Like they're still two of the best players in the NBA. So like, yeah, they only were the seventh seed in the West, but do you really want to go up against LeBron and AD in crunch time? I mean, they've already won a title together and everything, and even the Warriors, the sixth seed, who the Lakers are playing right now. I mean, Steph missed time, Clay missed time, all those guys missed time, and so I think it's interesting that the injury bug is something that is much more common, whether it's load management related or whether it's just being more cautious, or people are just playing harder and getting hurt more as a result of that. It happens across the board in all sports because like I can remember a time in my life, specifically talking about the NBA, where it was like if you were in the top four seeds in the playoffs, you were guaranteed to move on. Like there was no parity in basketball. Like when Kobe and Shaq were going through, and even into the early 2000s and everything. And I'm not even necessarily saying that parity is great in the NBA right now, but I think that combination of having the additional playoff rounds, having all the injuries, and then players coming back at it just in the nick of time or whatever you want to say about it, like that's what we're seeing in these playoffs. That's the reason that in like with the Heat being the eighth seed and taking down the who was it, the Bucks were the one seed in the East. I don't even know. And
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler went off, and then he got hurt the other game. Yeah, the game one of the second series or whatever, like against the Knicks. Who knows if he's going to play and everything? It's like it just takes a toll on your body to compete like this. And I think about those dynasty Yankee teams all the time because they were like so indestructible when it came to injuries, and obviously it was a different game then, but like you just don't see that in any sport. Like whether you're a star player, whether you're a, the sixth guy off the bench in basketball, or whatever it is, like injuries play such a huge part in who moves on and who doesn't. these days. More so than I think at any other point, because when we were growing up in any sport, you could pretty much guarantee that the top dogs were going to be there when it came playoff time. It's not always the case anymore. You're just kind of crossing your fingers and hoping that they don't wake up and do something to their back the wrong way, or whatever it is, like bend down wrong, or cut their hand on a cutting knife or something like that. Like,
Whoa, we're not talking about baseball players here, okay? Oh, I hurt my hand carrying groceries upstairs. I was playing with my drone and I cut my finger open. Like, I don't know.
yeah, it is just really interesting, and like in some ways it makes it more exciting, but it's also like the Lakers could have been like a 2 or 3 seed if they were just healthy all season long, and then it wouldn't be
Such a shock.
necessarily so surprising to the casual basketball fan
Yeah.
that they quote unquote upset the 2 seed in the first round. It's just like, well, when your 2 best guys miss 40% of the season, this is what happens. But when you also open up the playoffs to half the league, which the NBA does, this is also what happens. And that's what what you guys were talking about with the Yanks. I mean, it's not half the league that makes the playoffs, but there's a lot of time left. There's a lot of injuries to come to other teams, and hopefully not the Yankees, even though they lost like 3 other players since we talked about that about 50 minutes ago. And it's part of the game, I guess, but it does make it interesting, and interesting not in a way that like, oh my god, I want to watch it, but just interesting in the way that the game of sports in general, I think, has changed for whatever reason. People are just getting injured more.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point, and we don't have time to get into all the nitty-gritty details of it, but really quickly, just an update. Guys on second and third, 1 out, 0-1, Trevino's up, bottom of the 10th, 0-2. But no, that's like an interesting point, and this is kind of what we were talking. We texted a little bit about this recently when Giancarlo Stanton went down again, and what I'm wondering about, what I don't understand, and I just don't have enough knowledge. Oh, there it is. Game-winning RBI single for Jose Trevino, baby. Walk-off single.
Costly win, but we'll take it.
Yeah, pinch hit walk-off single. Love it. And what I just don't know enough about fucking fitness. We'll have to have Toddy on to talk about it. But like, it seems to me, huh?
That's a good guest episode. I like it.
Yeah, it seems to me that, Colin, what you just said is, and who knows if it's technically, like statistically, if it's true or not, I don't know. But regardless, there's plenty of injuries. We know that. We don't know if it's any more than previous eras, statistically speaking, but we know there's lots of injuries. And it seems to me, we were just talking about all of the technological advances that make all of our athletes better now than they were 50 years ago, 100 years ago in every sport, right? And so it's surprising to me that injuries are still, like, I guess, as prevalent as they are. I guess I would have thought that there would be some technology there. And like, you look at somebody like Giancarlo Stanton, who seems to be like this ridiculous specimen of a human being, right? And he's hurt all the time. And Jacob deGrom, kind of a similar thing, but any of these guys, right? Just so many injuries. And where is the technology on it? Is it just all the illegal stuff? Is it just like all steroids and shit? Is that the technology, or what?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's really fascinating to me. How come this happens so much? Like, shouldn't the knowledge of conditioning and fitness have improved just as much as our ability to like make good shoes for runners? So it's if anybody listening has some answers for us, please send them our way.
And I think what's really interesting about this too is, not only are we curious about all this, but like the way Giancarlo Stanton answered those reporter questions after his latest injury, and like the deflated, frustrated, responsibility that he took too, saying that, I should be out there. This is ridiculous that it keeps happening. Like, I'm sure they're like, what the fuck? I'm a beast.
Yeah, right.
Like, I shouldn't be breaking down like this, and yet,
yeah,
here we are. So I'm sure it frustrates them, obviously, even more than it does us as fans. And there's there's just not enough data probably out there yet in research. What's overdoing it, and like how we know now that you shouldn't swing the bat as often as Don Mattingly did, in batting practice and things like that, because you're gonna wreck your back.
Right.
Nope, 700 cuts a day. 700.
You get to that 10,000 mark real quick.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh man. Well, boys, this has been a fun episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Very different.
you should just call it do jump shot.
Yeah, I think
That should be the title.
I think
What
that
should I
would
call
be
it?
good.
Do jump shot.
All right, you're gonna have to send me how to actually spell all that.
Do jump shot.
Yeah,
You can do it. You can do it, Colin.
Yeah. Any shout outs before we go? I got one shout out.
I got one too. I'll say crazy Mike Trout. Like, I think his OPS plus is like 170 or something, and he's batting like 298. Yeah, fuck you, Ethan. But it's like, well, I was like, oh wow, he's having a great start of the season, and then I look up and like, oh wait, no, his career OPS is like 167. Like, fucking shit. You forget how good he is. Like, damn it. Like, he's having an average Mike Trout start to his career, which is 70% better than everyone else in the league. Holy shit. Like, damn it.
So, did you just give a shout out to Mike Trout?
Yes, I did.
Is he a listener of the show?
I mean, maybe.
He you never know that he is.
He's from New Jersey.
Okay.
Maybe he likes to have, listen to the local Philadelphia voice of baseball.
And as my one of my 8-year-old students told me just this evening, there are a lot of possibilities in the world. So,
oh man, whoever that is, make him president, because that's more knowledge than like 99% of people I know.
This kid, she's
going places.
She is such a fucking firecracker. It's hilarious. Oh my god, I'll tell a quick story about her. I'll give a shout out to her. How about that? I'll give a shout out to my student Nishka. So she's the one who talked about how there's a lot of possibilities in the world tonight. But the best was, I just started working with her a few weeks ago. I've been teaching her older sister for years now, but I just started working with her on piano, and she's been doing piano for a long time, but with a different teacher. And we were talking about practicing, and she was very honest with me. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm not good about practicing." Blah 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 blah. She went on this kind of funny rant or whatever, and I was like, "Okay, listen. Here's the deal. We're going to start small, and we're going to start with small, attainable goals. Consistency is the name of the game. I want you to do 5 minutes every day. That's it. 5 minutes every day. You can do that." And she's like, I do better. I do better like when my mom promises me like jelly beans or candy or chocolates, like after I practice. And I was like,
sounds like my daughter.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I don't give out candy. What about just, the reward of my approval, just hearing my approval? And she's like, yeah, but I can't eat your words.
Oh man,
this is my 8-year-old. One of my
definitely make her president.
She is fucking hilarious. She just makes me like laugh out loud, like guffaw in the middle of lessons. Honestly, that's the best part of teaching kids, is kids like this who are just like so full of personality and like no inhibitions. It's the best. Yeah, I love it.
That's a great shout out. So we got Mike Trout shout out, and then Ethan and I are going to shout out to kids.
Yep.
Cousin Greg texted me today and said the first coach pitch game was tonight for Alessio and my godson Domenico. Alessio went 4 for 4 with 4 runs as the leadoff hitter, and Domenico went 3 for 4 with 3 runs and 4 ribbies, and he knocked in Alessio every time as he was the cleanup hitter. So
awesome. The Arcuri boys, love it.
Yep, crushing it. All right, boys.
Hey, I need cousin Greg's pizza making skills, and we may need some consulting help. Mama Rita, if you're listening, my brother and I may or may not have bought you and Dad an Uni pizza oven.
Oh, the one you were talking about?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, combo awesome. Mother's Day, Father's Day, Mom's birthday, Dad's birthday gift. Those those things are freaking expensive.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
Nice.
cousin Greg, I might call on you. We may have some dough consultations in order. So
That's awesome.
Nice. Dough
Very cool
consultations.
Very cool gift. Well, the only appropriate way to end such a great episode is to say we are the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. Sean
not
Clifford.
yet, not until he signs a contract.